I know that you've done small or you've looked into the company. I know people have tried to pitch it before, but I do a lot of deep diving into PayPal. So I'm going to take this at a different angle. How much do you know about the company? Like, when's the last time you took a look at their numbers or what?
Yeah, SoFi, quite often. I probably even saw their last quarter numbers, probably the previous quarter numbers. I listened to the last two conference calls. And so one of the reasons I've been so tied up into it is like it's the number one stock, like people in my private stock group, it's a number one stock. They ask me about and hey, you ever gonna buy SoFi? And that people try to pitch me on, people always try to pitch me on different stocks. And SoFi's been the most kind of pitch stock, I feel like, in the whole
Sure.
entire stock market. And so I've been looking at it. Even a gentleman that is a big Palantir shareholder, Amit, that some people might watch. Amit even.
I do the SoFi weekly with them every week. So most of,
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
I'm
Amit.
part of the group.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. That is awesome. So yeah, he obviously even came to my house and tried to, I think, pitch me SoFi one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I've been so caught up into it, because I've learned over time you've got to take the retail community pretty serious. Um, if there's a lot of people kind of researching it, and there's kind of a consensus about an exciting opportunity, and this goes all the way back to AMD stock, because I saw this with AMD stock, a really strong retail community. This is back in like we're talking this is like 2016, 2017. And I did a couple videos in AMD, and I couldn't quite see it all the way with AMD. And there's just a lot of people that tried to, talk me into it, and there was even some people offended because I wasn't like super bullish on the company. I was kind of
Yeah.
like, just neutral. But and so that kind of opened up my eyes of like, wow, pay attention to this, because sometimes, if there's a lot of people in retail that understand a stock very well, it might be something there. And so that's why I've been kind of keeping an eye on SoFi. Today, Anthony Noto was on CNBC. I made sure I watched that. I was actually very impressed with him. He made a lot of good points.
Yeah.
But the company's been unprofitable, obviously. Um, I got bit by several unprofitable stocks last year.
Yeah.
And so I'm probably more risk adverse than in the past. And so I'm kind of looking at it, I'm like, when are they going to be profitable? The student loan thing bothers me, of like still trying to figure out clarity there. Obviously, the White House is trying to do certain things and get certain things through. And I'm just like, what's going to happen there? So I don't know. So that's been with me and SoFi. And also I've been trying to figure out, like, are they a bank? Should they be valued like a bank? Anthony Noto says, no, we shouldn't. We don't have branches. We don't have all these physical locations like traditional banks have, and this and that. But the more you look into their business model, like, a lot of these are banking related products. So anyways, I've gone down the rabbit hole. I just haven't been able to be convinced enough to
Yeah.
actually buy shares and say, you know what? Yes, this is the next big stock that has huge potential in the next 5-10 years. So
um, so first off, it's so funny that Amit, because I remember seeing the video that Amit coming to your house and you guys sitting down. I didn't remember what you guys had spoke about, but I was the original person that pitched Amit that stock. So you can go back, yeah, like 18 months ago or whatever, with me with my iPad camera pitching him that stock. I was a big fan. Now, I haven't even been in this stock that long. In terms, like, I'm not an IPOE kind of guy where I got in during that time. There was a lot of people that got caught up in that. I started buying around the $14 ranges and then all the way down. And now my average is about $7 a share. But that being said, I only like to add sort of under that range right now. I do think it's a little hot right now just because of the market that we're in. So,
by the way, the stock, what is it trading at right now? 9?
I think it's 9 right now, just because we've had a pretty good last couple of days.
Okay.
Like today was crazy. Yeah, $9.16 right now for SoFi. Now, the way I like to look at this bank is we have to understand originally that they are a nationally chartered bank, okay, in the United States.
That's interesting the way you put that right off the bat. You say the way we got to look at this bank. So, okay.
It's a bank. It's a bank. Okay. How you want to value it? I value it as a tech company, but they do actually have a nationally chartered bank license, so they get the same rates that the JP Morgans and the Bank of Americas do. Okay, And that's very, very good, because I don't even really like to, whenever I pitch the stock, which is often, I don't even really like to talk about the technology company. I just like to talk about the bank, let you see how amazing that is. And then I bring in the technology company and say, hey, Jeremy, you know what? We get all this for free as well, because I believe that the valuation just on the lending and financial services platform is good enough alone. And then okay, let me go back. Let me go to bases. There's three segments of this company. Okay. There's the financial services platform, which is like a deposit account, a credit card, debit card, all those sorts of things, right? Or SoFi Invest as well, like a brokerage. They use payment for order flow similarly to Robinhood. Then they have their lending, which is primarily.
By the way, just real quick here, savings accounts, they're usually one of the highest in terms of what they offer for savings accounts.
I think it's 4.4%. But that's part of their moat, in my opinion, because there are some other players like M1 that can offer 5%, but I guarantee you they are making if any profit on that, extremely, extremely small. Mm-hmm. SoFi, because they're a nationally chartered bank, they don't have to like M1 is not a bank. They have to partner with an actual bank to get that rate. And so part of partnering with that bank's not doing it for free. They want their cut as well. So right off the top, if SoFi was to offer 5% and M1 was going to offer 5%, SoFi is already going to be that much more profitable in order to be able to offer that rate, because they don't need to pay another company a fee. Mm-hmm. Then you start looking into the really nitty gritties of this company. Like the idea of they're their own sponsoring bank. So all their deposits can help deal with their loans. Like I was saying, personal loans, student loans, home loans, they're doing all that. For the longest time, for the last couple of years, what brought this stock down was the idea that student loans went away, which was their biggest revenue driver for the longest time. They were originally a student loan company. Okay. That entire business went away. So they had to pivot over to another business, which was the financial services. So in the course of COVID, they came out with deposit accounts, credit cards, all these a dozen plus products, which no other digital bank can offer. Well, not that they can't, but that they don't. Yep. There's none that offer lending, credit cards, investing, all these things. And Anthony Noto says this all the time. They all say they're going to, and none of them have so far. It's been 5 years. So the reason why I like this, and you said you hate unprofitable companies, on a GAAP basis, they are unprofitable. Okay. But the large majority of where their money is actually going is stuff like stock-based compensation and depreciation and amortization. So they're not actually cash burning. They are actually growing in terms of their cash basis, and they are actually growing, in terms of profitability for the business. But it's just a matter of their stock-based compensation got a little out of whack, but it is coming down. Okay. I wonder if I can bring up because I keep some pretty strong spreadsheets on these companies.
So maybe a little bit like a Palantir in the respect of like SBC got a little out of hand, and now it's not going to be as much of an issue kind of moving forward.
Yeah. So sorry, you can already see it on my face right here, but it's going to be a little bit of a flashbang. Sorry. But this is stock-based compensation in this disgusting purple. At Q2 of 2022, it was at its highest at 22% of revenue. All right, let me see if I can make that even bigger for you. 22% of revenue, whereas now it's only about 13% of revenue, and they want to, by 2024, get that into single digits. Okay. And as you can see, as a total percent or absolute terms, stock-based compensation has been going down. Now, the good things, like you can see, their lending platform is growing over time. Financial services is growing. They're growing in all their areas, aside from technology platform, but literally this big jump or this big drop off in financial services, which I should even explain. Like, do you know the Galileo platform and what they offer?
I don't know it in depth. And by the way, was that all your own charts and stuff there? Was that imported from? Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. That was impressive.
I do this for all my stocks. So I have it for PayPal. Whenever we jump into the members only side, Nubank is going to be a fun one, because my charts on Nubank I just updated for this call. So I worked a little extra on those. So
okay. Yeah, no,
Um,
it's nice. Go ahead. You were
but
talking about Galileo, the product?
yeah, so Galileo is a payment processing service. They do the payment processing for PayPal, or not PayPal, sorry, Robinhood. So Robinhood, the cash cards are done by PayPal, or sorry, done by SoFi.
Okay.
Okay. Chime, if you know that business,
Yep.
I think they have about 16 million users. All those are Galileo's clients.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so there's a couple, or I think they have about 20 or so businesses, but overall 100 plus million users that are part of Galileo. And every single time that they tap their cards or make those payments, it goes through Galileo Technologies.
Did they acquire that business?
They acquired that business.
Okay.
So they bought that business to vertically integrate their own debit processing because they just wanted to save fees. And then they did the
Okay.
same thing with another business called Technisys, where they acquired this company once again. This was back in 2022. And they said, this company is a cloud native. They build banking technology, but all under one core. So traditionally, and this is the way all the legacy banks do it today, and credit unions, community banks, they all do it this way. They have their deposit accounts in one section, and then with a completely different provider, they have all their investment providers, then their credit card providers, then their, normal payment solutions or lending processes, multiple cores. So you have to pay a fee to that company, to that company, to that company, to that, you know what I mean? Technisys, and they're not the only player. There's like quite a few players in this space, like any other place. But they make a one core for all those processes, completely cloud native. Okay, so everything's on the cloud, saves a lot of fees, and makes innovating on products very quickly. Like for example, through traditional legacy means, it might take 3 months to push out a new program or product. For Technisys, you literally go to the computer and say, hey, we're updating our APYs on our loans to 3% and enter, and it's done. So it's all completely done at light speed. They acquired that company as well. Then they went back to companies like Robinhood and they said, hey, we're dealing with your payment processing. We want to help you with your cloud native solutions to build your investment, your investing brokerage, and we'll be the supporting bank for you to actually store your assets under custody with us as SoFi the bank. There's only one company in the world that does all three of those in one, and their name is SoFi, right? So that's that perfect triangle of you come to us and like Lego blocks, we'll build your fintech. We'll build the UX, UI for all this stuff. We'll help you with the payment processing, and we'll be the sponsoring bank. There's not another company.
Wow. Now, when did they buy the Galileo business? Was that 21 or was that before?
That's 2020. And then,
so it must have paid a pretty hefty valuation for that back then.
Yeah, I think they bought that company for 1.2 billion, and I think today they're bringing in about 70 or so million dollars. So yeah, it was a hefty valuation. Technisys as well, quite heavy. And then they just acquired another company that deals in all their mortgages, which is called Wyndham Capital, which they got at a very good valuation. So yeah, but essentially what I like about the business is it's being valued, at least whenever I was really promoting it, at like the $4 ranges. It was less than book value for a company that was growing 40% compounded annual growth rates plus. They are more vertically integrated than potentially any business I've ever looked at. They how hard it is to find a bank, especially, or really any business that does all their own payment processing, manages their own deposits, okay, issues their own cards, like actually just sending out their own cards to their customers. Most banks don't do that. They'll give it to another smaller bank to do. It's kind of cool to see all of that all in one, and then also offering it out to other people, other fintechs.